What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kristin. I am the owner and coach at Nova Strength, and today I'm going to take you through my lower body strength day, and I'm also going to take you through one of my client Janie's training as well. She's doing a meet in about 8 weeks or so she's kind of ramping things up here, and I really want you guys to see. So what you're seeing here right now is me getting ready for my top set of squats. My squats have been feeling a little bit off for a while now, so today I would just kind of kept it a little bit more conservative, took it a little bit easier, and focused a little bit more on technique and position. So I hit 232 pounds for 3 reps, which I've done in the past for more reps than this, but again, I wasn't so concerned with the load. Things have been feeling a little bit off, and so I just kind of kept it a little bit more easy. Now, if you don't know the difference between high bar and low bar, I'm going to take you through that really quickly. So this is a high bar squat position. The bar sits on top of your traps here, and this is the low bar squat position where the bar sits below the traps on top of the rear delts. In this screen still, you could see the main difference being the position of the bar and where it sits on your back. So the low bar squat is usually a little bit stronger for people, and because it's lower, it places a little bit less demand on the thoracic or upper back extensors. And on the high bar squat, it's a little bit harder for most people because it places that extra demand for that upper back to stay more upright and a little bit tighter. Now, moving back into my training, these are my volume sets or back off sets, whatever you want to call them. From my top set, which was my heaviest set of squats for that day, I took off 12% from that. So that ended up with 205 pounds. I did 3 sets of 5 reps here. And to be honest, these felt really good, but also very hard. A little bit harder than expected. And my elbows have been pretty beat up lately. My upper back has been very fatigued, and my legs and hips are just kind of beat up. So I think this is a huge indication that I need to kind of take a step back and just rework everything, both from a programming standpoint and a technique standpoint. And I want to emphasize, don't be afraid to do that when it's needed. Sometimes things just don't work out as planned, and that's okay. Things are always progressive. So whether you take a step back and work on technique, if you pull back on load, just keep in mind the long term and what you're trying to get out of it for the long run. This will keep you a lot healthier, keep you a little bit more mentally in check, and just keep you feeling better overall. Now, moving into my deadlifts, this is my top set. I had a top set of 3. I hit 333 pounds, which is definitely a rep PR. I think I've done 320 pounds for 4 reps or something like that, but I've never been able to do this for this amount of reps. So I'm super, super happy. Now on my back off sets right here, I was focused a little bit more on position and technique. And in my top set, I got a little bit sloppy. I couldn't control the whip of that bar as much, especially at the top. And so I was just flinging it back down. So on these guys, I really practiced controlling it on the descent and really focused on kind of putting the bar down in the same exact position that I wanted to start in. So you could see I'm kind of controlling it a lot more rather than just throwing the bar down and going back into that next rep. I'm really, really trying to control my position here. Now we have my client Janie here. This girl is super cool. I've been working with her for only about 8 weeks now, and this was one of her heaviest days of the current block that she's in. So here she is warming up. She is a natural squatter. She only weighs about 107 pounds, and I think her max right now is probably around 285 pounds. But she's warming up for a top set. She had a top set of 3 reps at RPE 9. So RPE 9 meaning she only had 1 rep left in the tank. And so here she is doing some warm-up sets. She's really just trying to practice movement, get the blood flowing, and she's been dealing with a little bit of a knee issue. She did it during vacuuming, so this is why I say don't do house chores. But here I told her to kind of practice sitting into her hips a little bit more. She tends to want to load a lot more into her knees and quads as she initiates the descent. So we've been trying to cue her to sit into her hips just a tad bit more for a little bit of a smoother transition on the way down, so that it wasn't this 2-part segmented squat where she would load the knees forward and then kind of run out of space and then have to kind of sit back back into her hips. So by cueing just to sit into her hips a tiny bit earlier, she's able to kind of keep that movement pattern a lot smoother. Now, you'll notice she does a lot of build-up sets here, and we call these acclimation sets. And this is a way to slowly increase the load on the bar so that your movement pattern is very primed. And this is what we call acute motor learning. And it's a way to get your nervous system acclimated to what you're kind of putting it through. And she tends to want to take huge jumps, but I actually convinced her to take a little bit of a smaller jump in between warm-up sets so that she wouldn't shock her body when she added a ton of weight to the bar. So a typical rule of thumb here is generally add about 5% each set, 3 to 5%, depending on how it feels. And don't be afraid to retake sets as you're warming up, because you really want to solidify a good movement pattern before it starts feeling heavy. So what she does is she usually hits 225 pounds, calls it a day, and then jumps straight to her heavy set. So sometimes that's like 30 pounds, sometimes that's 40 pounds. In this case, it would have been about 40 pounds, which is a huge percentage of increase. So I convinced her to take this one last set before what we wanted to hit for our top set, which was going to be around 260 to 265 pounds. And even that is still kind of a big jump. So this is 243 pounds, but we managed to do it. And here she is with her 264 for 3-rep top set. So something that she did was she actually put her belt on a little bit too tight, which inhibited her ability to brace and hit proper depth in a stable position. And so something I want to point out is make sure that you don't start changing things subconsciously or consciously as you approach your heaviest set of that day. A lot of people do this at competitions. They start changing certain things here and there, and all of a sudden their movement feels very foreign. And so what I like to do is become very automated, become like a robot, have a checklist of your setup, make sure it's very sequential and very repeatable so that you know what to expect for each set. So here she is warming up for her deadlifts. Again, I told her to practice setting up the same exact way each time. So your setup can change from person to person. It doesn't really matter what you do as long as it's very repeatable so that your execution does not go questioned. You don't feel doubt when you start approaching those heavier sets. You kind of just know what to do each time so that nothing changes. Look how freaking jacked she is, by the way. I've been working with her for only 8 weeks and she's already put on so much size. She was already jacked to begin with, but look at her muscles. Like, holy shit, she's so freaking jacked. She could actually step on stage right now. On these guys, her warm-up sets, I told her to practice leading with her chest. She tends to want to scoop her hips under her, causing her back to flex over. So I really tried to cue her to stay a little bit more extended and keep her chest as tall as possible. And here you can see this is her top set. She hit 292 pounds for 2 reps, super easy. This was actually kind of a deload day for her deadlift, but she hit something really heavy. Her best deadlift ever, I think, is 315. So we're really getting close. And then I had her practicing some sumo deadlifts. She dealt with some groin issues in the past, and I think it was mainly due to standing way too wide. I think a lot of people think they have to stand really wide for their sumo, but everyone's sumo position is going to be very different depending on their strength dominances and their hip structures and just their overall leverages. For her, she's a very narrow person. Her hips are super tiny, so standing a little bit more narrow in closer towards her body really allows her to stay more stacked and stable and really stay on top of her quads a lot more and still push through the hips while just gently opening the hips up, but not too much to where it's just kind of grinding on that outer portion of the hip. So we finished off with some heavy Larson press. She hit 115 pounds for 9 reps, which is super crazy. And that's kind of it for the day. So that's it for this video. It was really quick, but I wanted to take you through my training, Janie's training, and kind of keep you updated with that. So I hope you learned something. Hope it was slightly entertaining. If you liked it, like, subscribe, comment, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.